Ladies and gentlemen, what's good? We're back with another Bobby Reacts video. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day today. As you guys have likely seen by now, the groups for Stage 5 of the COD Mobile Championships have finally been released. I feel like we've been waiting on this forever, and to be honest, it's basically 3 years in the making. So, obviously, I went through the groups, gave my expectations this morning on stream, but I wanted to do a Bobby Reacts video just of my predictions for how everything's going to pan out. Now, couple things I'm going to go ahead and say beforehand. Number one, this is just what I'm thinking based on what I've seen so far this year. I've talked to a lot of pro players from a lot of different regions. I have probably watched more COD Mobile across the world than anybody else. So I'm mainly making this just based on what I've seen throughout the past year of Call of Duty Mobile. That being said, I would love to see myself be proven wrong. I would love to see upsets. I would love to see unexpected storylines pop up all over the place. Like I said, this is just what I'm expecting based off what I've seen over the last year. So don't take any offense to it. If you're a team that's playing in Stage 5 watching this, use this as motivation if you need to, if I think that your team's going to drop out early. But we're going to go ahead and hop into the action. We do start off with Group A right here. I talked about this earlier. I think this is the most balanced group of all four groups. So obviously you have four different groups of four. You got Godlike Esports, who's number one in India, Mayhem, who's number 3 in North America, Stamina, who's number 1 in Europe, and Smart Omega, who's number 2 in Garena. So obviously first matchup, Godlike versus Mayhem. I'm not gonna lie, I've got a little bit of bias. I will admit to that. I've got a little bit of bias towards North America and especially towards NYSL Mayhem. Obviously, I have affiliations with the team, and given the fact that right now I'm content creator Bobby and I'm not caster Bobby, I'm allowed to be biased a little bit. So I'm going to take NYSL Mayhem over Godlike Esports. I do think the Indian region has struggled a good bit from what I've seen in different VODs. I think most of you guys have probably seen the VOD of Vitality scrimming against Tribe and getting absolutely smoked while Tribe's playing on 100 ping. For the most part, Godlike and Vitality have been back and forth. Now, I will say in the India Invitational, which just finished up recently, round 1, Godlike loses to Vitality, but Vegas is not starting. Vegas starts in the grand finals. They beat Vitality. So I do think Godlike is a better team than Vitality. But I feel like the North American region is really, really strong. I think a lot of times teams like Luminosity and Mayhem, Luminosity, for those of you who don't know, is Undream's new team name. I think those teams a lot of times get overshadowed just because of how strong Tribe is. I do think NYSL Mayhem is going to be strong enough in the respawns, and to be honest, probably the S&D as well to take out Godlike Esports, but I think it's going to be a good series. Moving on, we got Stamina versus Smart Omega. This is one that's really, really difficult for me because obviously, Smart Omega is a team that I've cheered for a while. That being said, they have not looked very strong recently. You look back at the Gush Cloud Invitational, I think that was the name of it, and they lose to a Blacklist team that immediately got 3-0'd in the grand finals. So Smart Omega has definitely not looked to be at their best in the current situation. I think they're going to have a really rough time, and from what I've seen, Stamina has continued to improve. They've shown to be at least competitive against the North American team, so I think for this one, at least for right now, I do have to take Stamina as the top team. Like I said, this is just my opinion. You know, there's no guarantee that this is what's going to happen, but Stamina has definitely looked very strong. I feel like they've improved a good amount. I think it's going to be Mayhem versus Stamina in the upper qualifier. Obviously, in the lower qualifier, that does give us Smart Omega versus Godlike, which I'm now realizing this video might take longer than I expected that it would. I'm now realizing that I started to ramble. We are 4 minutes in, and I have only given round 1 of part 1. So I will try to move a little bit quicker. Looking at lower round 1, like I said, India has had their struggles. I think India is definitely the underdog coming into this. I think there are a lot of fans of India COD Mobile competitive that would agree with that. I think Smart Omega, even despite the struggles that they've had recently, are definitely still a strong team. They're very strong in Search and Destroy. I don't think there's much of a chance that India, or rather Godlike in particular, takes them out in a Search and Destroy. And I think bare minimum, they take at least one hard point or a control. It's all best of 5 series. I do think Smart Omega is going to advance over top of Godlike. Looking at this matchup, obviously NYSL Mayhem versus Stamina. Once again, a little bit of a toss-up. Now, I will say Mayhem, their day one is either going to be complete dominance or they could completely fall flat. I don't think it's going to be the second one. I think Little B has a chip on his shoulder. We saw that coming into stage 4. He absolutely fried, despite the fact that they didn't finish above top 3. I think he's going to perform really well. That being said, I feel like there's so much talent across the Stamina roster. I think they are going to get the better of Mayhem in this qualifier. I do think Stamina is going to take the 1 seed coming outside of this, and I think it is going to be Mayhem going up against Smart Omega in the lower qualifier. Now, this is like the really tough decision because I feel like of the teams that I've rooted for in stage 4s and whatever it is, it's Mayhem and Smart Omega have been my top 2 teams. I do feel like Mayhem is stronger overall when it comes to the respawns. Like I said, there's been a lack of consistency for Smart Omega. So as much as I would love to cheer for Smart Omega, I do think that Mayhem's going to come out on top in this one. I think Mayhem's the 2 seed coming out of the lower qualifiers. I think Stamina and Mayhem are going to be the 2 teams that come out of Group A. What am I, 6 minutes in? All right, I got to start moving a little quicker. This one, not going to be quite as complicated. I think this is one of the more straightforward ones. Wolves have looked really strong. China is no question one of the strongest teams in Stage 5. And Strut Esports, there's been nothing that any of the teams have said from really any of the regions to make me think that they're going to be difficult for Wolves to deal with. I've seen them get a little upset on Twitter when I said that this was going to be a straightforward group when I didn't think it was too complicated to predict. I would love to see them prove me wrong, but as of right now, there's nothing to lead me to believe that Wolves is not going to get the better of that matchup. Same for Inco Gaming, like I mentioned. Vitality getting smoked by Tribe on, what was it, 90 to 100 ping. Obviously, that's just one scrim, but that's a pretty heavy indicator of what to expect. For me, Vitality definitely has a lot to prove. Sams is a phenomenal player. Hopefully he can step up and bring the rest of the team up to his level, but I think they're going to have a rough time against an Inco Gaming team that, especially behind Lucas, what I've seen him do, he's been playing in multiple, these are show match type environments, but he's been top frag for the entire lobby on 90 MS. So that's in and of itself really crazy. I think Inco is going to be a force to be reckoned with. I think they take out Vitality right there, and they do advance to go up against Wolves. Obviously, we got to go ahead and place Vitality down in the lower bracket, Strut Esports as well. Even though I mentioned Strut Esports has not looked great, to be honest, I think that Vitality is probably, as of right now, in my mind, the weakest team whenever it comes to Stage 5 of the COD Mobile Championship. So I do think that Strut is going to come out on top right there. Like I said, this is a team that I think has potential. They definitely could be a sleeper pick because I don't think many people have really done a whole lot of voting on them. They definitely struggled in EU Stage 4, and I would love to see big things out of them. I think Afer is one player that a lot of people have mentioned. If he plays well, if he starts for them, maybe could make something happen, but he's definitely going to need to go crazy for them. Why is there a Smart Omega? How do I get rid of the Smart Omega that is on this screen right now? How is there a Smart Omega? Is it right there? Where did the Smart Omega come from? Oh my gosh. How high up did I paste it? Oh, it's because I did cut and paste and not copy and paste. Well, don't worry about it. It doesn't actually matter. I do think Strut Esports come out on top right there. Wolves versus Inco Gaming. This is going to be a really interesting one because Wolves are obviously, the Chinese region in general is very, very aggressive. I think especially their S&D is going to be difficult to counter for the LATAM region, who is very, very passive. There's definitely some phenomenal snipers over there. But I think China is definitely going to be considered to be a top 3 region. This is a tough prediction for me. This is really, really tough. I do feel like I'm going to give a slight edge to Wolves in this matchup. I think Wolves end up being the 1 seed coming out of Group B. I think Inco Gaming does end up matching up against Strut. I don't think they're going to have any difficulty dealing with them. And I do have Inco as the number 2 seed coming out of that. But like I said, those two teams very, very close to each other in my mind. And I feel like it could go either way. So don't take that prediction too terribly seriously. This is a Group C, that it like mind bends me because I don't really know what to expect. Now, I will say, as far as this top matchup, I don't think it's going to be much of a contest. I think Scars comes out on top by far. I think Scars is incredibly talented gun skill wise. They've been scrimming against top tier iPad teams because that's the majority of what Japan is. They are the only Japanese team, but they did not lose a single map in stage 4. I think they're a great team. I just don't know how they compare to the rest of the number 1 seeds in different regions. So looking at the next one, this is absolutely, no question, the best upper round 1 matchup in the entire tournament. Tribe Gaming against Q9. Obviously, Q9 ended up getting the 2 seed in China, and that kind of threw off the seedings a little bit. We thought Almighty was going to be in this group as well, which would have just blown up the entire tournament. But it is going to be Tribe versus Q9. Technically, Q9 is a 2 seed in the Chinese region. Y'all know I think Tribe has a very good chance at winning the entire thing. One thing I will mention, literally like right before I even recorded this video, multiple Tribe players tweeting about like back-to-back days, not having scrims, team chemistry issues. That's something that we're going to need to be aware of and definitely keeping an eye on. With that being said, I think gun skill wise, especially as far as respawn goes, the combination of gun skill and teamwork, I think Tribe's the best team in the tournament. I don't see them losing a respawn early on. I think Q9 likely wins the search and destroy, but I think Tribe probably does get the better of the matchup overall. So I do have Tribe moving on to the upper qualifiers against Scars. Obviously, I feel like Q9 is an incredibly solid team, and I think they're a team that could potentially finish top 3 in the entire tournament. So not sleeping on them at all. This is Influence Kemen, formerly Influence Rage. They're the 3 seed coming out of LATAM. Respectfully, I don't think there's much of a chance they beat Q9. I feel pretty confident saying Q9 wins that lower qualifier, moves on, or wins lower round 1, moves on to the qualifier. Scars versus Tribe Gaming. I think Scars is good. I haven't heard anything about them scrimming top teams, though, and I think that's going to be a big downfall for them. I would love to be proven wrong. Scars is probably the team that I know the least about coming into this tournament, just because I haven't heard... I talked to like teams from every single region, and nobody really knows what to expect out of Scars. So just because I know what to expect out of Tribe Gaming, I do think they're going to be the 1 seed coming out of this. That means we are going to have Scars going up against Q9. And like I said, Q9, I think Q9 is the best team in China. Obviously, they did lose the grand finals of their Masters 2 going up against Wolves, but I think they are the more consistent overall looking in the grand scheme of things. I think that we could have a Tribe versus Q9, Tribe being the 1 seed, Q9 being the 2 seed, but this is a group that I feel like is kind of a toss-up just because nobody really knows what to expect out of Scars. And I think they could pull off some upsets. They could beat Tribe. They could beat Q9. I just really don't know enough about them to predict them winning in this. So we're going to move on to the final group. Oh my gosh, we're 13 minutes in. You know what? That's not the worst thing in the world. Almighty, Skade, Nova, Luminosity. I think this is another very balanced group, very similar to what we saw in Group A. Obviously, I've got to take Almighty right here. I've been cheering for Almighty for a while. I feel like the motivation. Heaven has said this is going to be his final year. Obviously, it's not guaranteed that it's going to be his final year, but I think that the team chemistry. This team might have the best team chemistry of any team in the entire tournament. I think Almighty is going to be a force to be reckoned with. Realistically, I think they're top 2. I'm not going to give my full predictions for the final bracket just because I don't know how the teams are going to be seeded against there, and we're going to do that in a separate video. I do think Almighty gets the better of Skade, who, with that being said, is definitely still a solid team. A lot of North American teams have said they're a sleeper pick. I just don't think they're going to be good enough to take down Almighty. Looking at this next one, Luminosity is a team that I've said previously I feel like really gets slept on just because they get overshadowed by Tribe. I think Nova is definitely a solid roster, but I think North America in general just has, especially among the top teams, better competition. I think Nova is going to have a very difficult time dealing with Luminosity, and Luminosity is another one of those teams that I think, like, especially if things start falling apart for Tribe, I think they've got a chance at winning the entire thing. I've heard multiple Tribe players speak very highly of Luminosity, of their team chemistry, of everything they've got going on over there. And you got Band, who is widely regarded as a major warrior. That meaning, basically, whenever it comes to like stage 4, stage 5s, he really steps his game up. That's why he was the stage 5 MVP last year. It's just in his blood, you know? So looking at the lower bracket, Nova Esports versus Skate. Now, this is a tough one because it's a 2 seed versus a 2 seed. I feel like Europe and LATAM have been both regions that people don't quite know what to expect out of them. They're definitely not considered to be top regions, but Nova's they've got a lot of talent. To be honest, I feel like a lot of times it happened last year. I feel like it could happen this year. The egos for Nova could get in the way. I think Skade's got a lot of talent, even though they're getting overshadowed by Inco. This might be an upset pick, but I'm actually going to take Skade over top of Nova Esports. And then up here, I mean, this is a tough one. Realistically, I think the team chemistry for Almighty is going to be at an all-time high. I think Almighty takes the win in this one. I think they come out of this as the 1 seed. I think Luminosity ends up going up against Skade. And like I said, I think they're very underrated just because they've been overshadowed by Tribe. But I think they're a very strong roster, and I do think they will come out of this group as the 2 seed. So there we go. Almighty and Luminosity, the last two coming out of there. That is my full predictions. Oh my gosh, 17 minutes straight of talking when it comes to Stage 5 of the COD Mobile Championships. And that's just day 1. At some point, I'll make my day 2 and 3 predictions, but I have to get a little bit more familiarity with how the seeds are going to be played out and everything else. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you disagree with me, let me know down in the comments below, but that's going to be it. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.